Hi guys, I am a fan of most 60s groups, especially those from the British invasion, but probably one of the biggest 60s groups is the Rolling Stones. And I think a lot of you will probably be surprised to hear that I have never intentionally listened to the Rolling Stones. I have, of course, heard some of their songs before, but I've never listened to one of their albums, and I have never gone to listen to any of their songs apart from Paint It Black. I think that's the only song I've ever actually typed up online to listen to. And there's actually a really strange story as to why I have never gone to listen to any of the Rolling Stones songs. And it's because when I first became a fan of the Beatles, I was very young, and for some reason I had it in my mind that I would be a bit of a traitor if I started becoming a fan of the Rolling Stones, because I kind of saw the Beatles and the Rolling Stones as enemies and I couldn't like both of them. This was my weird mind as a child, and it's kind of stuck since. Which is silly because although the two groups were seen as rivals at the start of their careers, they evidently became close friends. They collaborated with each other and also hung out socially. So it was silly for me to think that I couldn't be a fan of the Rolling Stones because I was a fan of the Beatles. And I really want to change that now. What's funny is I also had that mindset with Pokemon, a little random, but one of the other things I loved as a child was Pokemon. I remember Pokemon was the big craze at school, everyone trading their Pokemon cards, and all of a sudden Harry Potter came along and nobody cared about Pokemon anymore. I refused to watch Harry Potter, have anything to do with Harry Potter until I decided to give in the end, and it was actually down to Harry Potter that I became a fan of the Beatles. That's through the actor Ian Hart, who plays Professor Quirrell from Harry Potter. He also stars as John Lennon in Backbeat. That's how I became a fan of the Beatles when I was little. So yeah, I've decided that I want to change that, and I really want to start listening to Rolling Stones music finally. So I plan to listen to every one of the Rolling Stones albums, and on this channel I plan to give my thoughts on each of their tracks and their albums. So I'm starting with their debut album, which is simply called The Rolling Stones. So I actually need to check my facts here. The album was released by Decca Records in the UK on the 17th of April 1964, and the US release had a slightly different track list, but I've listened to the UK version. So the group members for this album were, of course, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, as well as Brian Jones, Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts. And also something I learnt while doing some research on the Rolling Stones is that although Mick Jagger is the lead singer, he was not considered the group leader at the start. It was actually Brian Jones, who was also the group's founder, which is something I didn't know about before doing this video. I know a lot about 60s groups, but very little on the Rolling Stones, unless they've got some kind of connection with the Beatles or another 60s group. So I really hope to change that now. The first track on the album is Route 66, and I have heard this song before. The original version was recorded by Nat King Cole, but the Rolling Stones version is considered the most famous. I also read that the song was one of their most popular in-concert numbers on their early tours. And I can understand why. I really like this song. When I first played the album and I heard this one, I thought, this is great, off to a good start. I already am familiar with the first song and I already know that I really like it. I think it's a great opening song for their debut album. The next track is I Just Want to Make Love to You. This is another song that I've heard of before, so I was really thinking at this point that I know more Rolling Stone songs than I thought. The song was written by Willie Dixon and recorded by Muddy Waters in 1954. Although I personally prefer Route 66 over this one, I immediately enjoyed this one too, as I was excited. I had already heard this one before and I think it is a very easy song to get into. The next track is Honest I Do. This is a slower blues song written by Jimmy Reed. I think it's a pleasant song to listen to, but I wasn't into it as quickly as I was with some of the other tracks on this album. But I think it's one of those slow growing songs, because the more I listen to it, the more I find that I'm getting into it. So with time, my opinion on this one may change and I may like it a lot more. And that goes for a lot of the songs actually on this album, because I have only listened to the songs on here on and off for a week. So in like say a month's time, my opinion may actually change on some of them. But from first listening to it, it didn't grab me as much as some of the other tracks. I would say this one is probably like middle level. I am planning on ordering the songs at the end of this video. Again, that order may change in a few weeks, but yeah, these are my initial thoughts. The next track is Mona, I Need You Baby. When I first played this track, it was really bugging me because I knew that I'd heard the tune before, but I didn't recognize the song, the lyrics as much. I just knew I knew the tune. And then I realized that Buddy Holly and the Crickets actually used this song as a template for their song Not Fade Away, and I just love this beat, so I got into this one very quickly. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. The next track is Now I've Got to Witness. As this one doesn't have vocals, I've found it a little harder to connect with. That's not to say that I don't like just instrumental songs. I am a fan of Mozart, so it's not that. There are a few instrumental Beatles songs that I really love as well. It's just this one, even with the music, it hasn't grabbed me that much. And I do think it's because of there being no vocals that it's probably my least favourite currently on the album. The next track is Little by Little. I really like this one. I got into this one quickly. I think the vocals and the sound is great. Another one which I think I'm going to be placing quite high in my order at the end. The next track is I'm a King Bee. Pink Floyd covered this song, and I think I currently prefer Pink Floyd's version a bit more, but personally I have never been that keen on this song anyway. It's never been one of my favourites to listen to. The next track is Carol. I've heard this one before, a song written and recorded by Chuck Berry, and the Beatles covered it as well. It's on their Live at the BBC album. It was recorded by the Beatles for the Pop Goes the Beatles radio show on the 2nd of July 1963, and I realise I am going off talking about the Beatles again, so I will go back to the Rolling Stones. I do like the Rolling Stones version. I didn't know they covered it, and I really do enjoy this song. I currently prefer the Beatles version, but it might be because I'm more familiar with that song, and maybe I'm biased. I'm not sure, but I do really like this song a lot. The next track is Tell Me You're Coming Back. I love that this song was written by Jagger and Richards, and I really enjoyed listening to this one. I found it very catchy. Another one I think I'm going to be placing quite high in my order. The next track is Can I Get a Witness, although for some reason when I first looked at the tracks I read this as Can I Get a Walrus. I got quite excited. No, it's Can I Get a Witness. I found this track okay, but I didn't get into it as much as I got into some of the other tracks on the album. The next track is You Can Make It If You Try. Again, another track I currently find okay. It's not one of the standout tracks for me on the album. And the last track is Walking the Dog. I read that this song is apparently unique because it features harmony vocals from Brian Jones. I think this is a fun song. I find the tune really catchy. I like this one a lot. I enjoyed listening to it. I have now ordered the songs from my least favourite to my favourite, so this is my order currently. At number 12, I've got Now I've Got a Witness. 11, You Can Make It If You Try. 10, Can I Get a Witness. 9, I'm King Bee. 8, Honest I Do. 7, I Just Want to Make. 6, Walking the Dog. 5, Tell Me You're Coming Back. 4, Carol. 3, Little by Little. Number 2, Mona, I Need You Baby. And at number 1 is Route 66. Overall, I enjoyed this album a lot. I would say I got into about half of the songs really quickly, but although there are a lot of songs that I find catchy and I really enjoy listening to. I can't really say there's a major standout track to me, and I didn't really find any of the songs really made me go like wow, but this is their debut album and I still think it is a very strong debut album, and I've only been playing it for a week, unlike other 60s groups which I've been listening to for years. And the album has definitely made me excited to hear more from the Rolling Stones. I really can't wait to play their second album. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please let me know if you're a Rolling Stones fan and your favourite album. I really want to know what album is like considered their best album, the one that I really should get excited about listening to. Thank you again for watching this video. Please subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!